Okay, so let me just check. I think the recording, excuse me, is now on. So, welcome to this webinar today, where I will be talking about 3 ways to future-proof your practice in 2026. So, thank you so much for joining me here. And before we even do anything else, I want us to take a moment to gently arrive in this session. I know that many of us have very busy lives. I don't know anybody who doesn't at the moment. We are coming close to Christmas, so it's the end of November. I know for many of us it feels like things are speeding up, like things are so busy. And I hear that in every program that I'm running at the moment from female practitioners. So let's take a moment to arrive. So put your pen down, put your phone down, maybe put it on silent for the next half an hour, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and allow yourself to just arrive fully here in this moment, in this present moment. Arrive fully within your body, arrive fully for this session. So maybe checking in with your body. One of the practices that we learn within the trauma-informed somatic teacher and coach for women certification is this practice of checking in with yourself. So checking in with your body, and we start usually with gentle somatic movement, intuitive movement. Checking in with what the body is trying to communicate to us. How does it feel to arrive in this moment for this session? How are you on the level of your body, level of your, excuse me, energy, level of your emotional level, the feelings and emotions that you might be having in this moment? What's going on in your mind, whether your mind is very busy and preoccupied, whether there is a sense of spaciousness within your body or a sense of overwhelm. How is your breath? Yeah, I can see that some of you are, yeah. Normally there is a bit of yawning coming in. There is a bit of this acknowledgement of quite often of, oh my God, I'm so tired, or oh, I've been holding my breath all morning, and now is the first time that I'm noticing it and I can allow myself to relax a little. So just notice how you are as you're arriving for this session. Like for me, I'm very aware that I arrived, and always when I run a live session with a new group that is open to more people rather than as part of my certification, I always feel this sense of activation, this sense of mixture of apprehension and excitement. And even just this talking you through to check in with yourself, to arrive fully in this moment, allowed me to shift my state a little. So I feel like I arrived. I really feel the support of the chair underneath me. I really feel like my belly has relaxed a little bit, like this sense of, okay, let's begin. I've arrived now. And so you can also do things like if you are particularly feeling overwhelmed, you could do a bit of orienting practice. So looking around your immediate environment, noticing different objects, shapes, colors, textures, noticing what's around you, moving your head slowly from side to side, noticing all those different things around you. And the same time acknowledging the safety of your immediate environment. So again, arriving fully in this moment, orienting within your environment and also orienting towards the ground, so grounding, like feeling the support of whatever you are sitting on at this moment, feeling the support underneath your sitting bones, your back or your feet, and allowing yourself to be supported in this moment. And so as you're arriving, I want to invite you to name how you are. And maybe there are many different things that you are feeling right now. That might be certain feelings to do with the topic of this webinar. So there might be some uncertainty or certain feeling of overwhelm of trying to do lots of stuff, or worrying about the economic shifts, or how AI is going to impact your business, your stability, your livelihood, your well-being. And so, all of those things are very, very welcome, and we want to become aware of them, because if we are not aware of them, they drive our reactions and our behaviors in a very unconscious way. So we want to become more aware of them. We want to name them. And when we become aware of them, when we name them, then we've got a choice. Yeah, exactly. We've got a choice. I can choose. Like, I'm feeling really uncertain. Okay, what am I uncertain about? And actually, how can I manage this? What can I do about this? Yeah, exactly. So, one of the things that I always want to say is that so often we can feel like we are behind or like we are failing. And there is no better time than starting working on something like your business and how you're approaching your work, your business, your impact, your financial stuff, and your well-being, of course, right here, right now. We cannot change the past and the decisions and choices that we made, the actions that we take, the actions that we took or didn't take, but we can make different decisions and approach it differently here today. And that's the moment of our power. So within the context of this webinar and what I will be talking about, what we will be exploring, is I want to say that this kind of work that I will be talking about, the somatic trauma informed work, is more than ever important within our world, within our well-being, within how we support others and our communities. It's becoming more essential with the changes that we are seeing within our community and within the context of AI as well. It's more essential, not less essential. Okay, so let's just take this time together to explore all of those different aspects. And, I will be talking about the three ways that this way of working, somatic, trauma-informed, client-led, client-focused way, compassionate way of working with clients can really support you as a human, as a practitioner, and can support your business long term, because that's what we're looking for. Like, sustainability is about long-term stuff, not quick fixes. And we're going to talk about this in a moment. So let's take a moment and reflect on what's the situation right now at the end, as we are coming to the end of 2025 and we are moving into 2026. And you can see, like, think for yourself and maybe put it in the chat. Like, what is coming up for you? What are the questions that are coming up for you in context of your work, in context of sustainability, in context of the maybe AI, and the degree and the intensity of information around AI. So maybe put it in the chat. Yeah, yeah. So exactly. So how do I stay on top of everything? Yeah, that's a really great question. Really great question. Yeah, how do I continue working in a way that supports me? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, how do I compete with AI? Yeah, really good question. Really, really good question. So, the question in here, and you put it so well through, is how do I stay relevant? How do I stay uh, visible? How do I create my business in a stable way as we move forward with everything that is happening within our society? So I know from experience, and I've been working with people for the last 25 years, initially in social care, and then the last 10 years, I left social care 10 years ago to run my own business. I know from all of that work and all of the training that I've done over the years that when times are difficult, when people are worried about money, about survival, about the economy, about the bills, that people's focus shifts from quite often from aspirational into what's possible and how big I can make this and how much we can grow and what else will help me and what can I invest in. It shifts into more towards the questions around, how do I protect what I have? How do I take care of what I have so I don't lose it? How do I create more stability and sustainability in my life and my business so I survive those difficult times? How do I reduce overwhelm? And that overwhelm can come from the information and the data and the news, and yet another increase in the tax or yet another increase in the bills. How do I reduce that overwhelm that then I'm feeling that's coming from outside, but then I'm feeling inside? And also really looking at how do I shift into sustainability, moving from quick fixes into long-term, real support, human support. And this is why I said already that somatic, relational, and human work becomes so much more valuable when the world feels less predictable. Because let's be honest in here, when we are talking about AI, it's a wonderful, wonderful tool because AI can support you with your admin. It can help you write emails, it can help you write summaries of meetings, prepare for the meetings, brainstorm ideas. It can help you do some research and summarize it. It can help you organize your ideas. It can help you do a lot of different things. So, for example, I use it a lot around creating my videos for my show and podcast, especially when I'm doing some research or I'm organizing some thoughts, when I record my show and then I want, ChatGPT create the description really quickly, or when I wanted to help me choose some optional titles for my episodes, just get some ideas, or when I'm looking at SEO, so search engine optimization stuff. That's really great. So maybe let me know in the chat if you are using AI and what you're using it for. Yeah, exactly. Some admin, some emails, some brainstorming. Yeah, exactly, exactly. But one thing that AI cannot do, well, it cannot do lots of different things, but what it cannot do definitely is it cannot co-regulate. It cannot attune to a human's needs. It cannot create a healthy relationship. And we've seen that over the last year, maybe 2 years, reports coming about AI supporting especially younger people or vulnerable people to commit a suicide, for example, because the AI, the way that it's designed, is regenerative, which means you ask it a question for something, it will give you the answer, and then it will say, would you like me to do more of this or more of that or more of this? So, for example, I was working with it this morning and I was looking at some stuff around taxes because here in UK yesterday the new budget came out, so there's been some changes around the taxation, the percentages, and I wanted to understand around dividends, and I wanted to understand what it would look like for different levels of revenue and different levels of dividends, and all of that kind of stuff. And so, every time I asked the question, it came back with the answer and it said, would you like me to do this, and this? More and more and more and more. And at some point, I just thought I had enough. I put it to one side and I left it with those questions. And if I kept going, it would give me more and more and more and more. And yes, yes, it's insatiable. That's a really great word. Yeah. So it kept going on and on and on and on. It's like, oh my God. And so it cannot attune to you. If you're feeling sad, if you're struggling with something, it cannot do that. That requires consciousness, that requires ability to read somebody's non-verbal communication and somebody's presentation. It requires reading between the lines, the skill of deep listening. So not just what somebody says, but actually listening for what's not being said. And that's something that AI cannot do. And there are some interesting reports about how AI is so out of alignment with what's really going on. And some of the cases are very, very heartbreaking, with people committing suicide or that kind of stuff. And so there are so many things that the AI cannot do at this moment in time. And I don't know that it will ever be able to do. And so this is exactly why I want to share the 3 ways that trauma-informed somatic coaching and teaching for women will future-proof your practice. So what do I mean by that? Well, the first thing, and this is something that I've talked so much about, the first way that it can do it is that it really helps you understand on a personal level, and first of all on a personal level, but also how you can work with others, that way of how to master your nervous system and your leadership capacity. And this is a big thing. This is the foundation of everything for me, because your ability to move towards more nervous system and physiological regulation and emotional regulation is your biggest business asset, the biggest business asset that you have. So, we all know somebody, or you might have experienced it yourself. We all know that practitioners burn out or experience burnout not only because they work too much. but because their nervous system isn't supported in a way that is manageable. What does it mean? It means that, working a lot, yes, will contribute to exhaustion and tiredness. But when we feel that we don't have enough inner resources, and when we feel that we don't have outer resources, so outer support, that's where it leads to burnout. And so the overwhelm that so many of us experience can show up in your system overload. So it can show up in feeling exhausted, feeling overwhelmed, freezing, so not, procrastinating, not being able to do anything, in avoidance, in phoning behavior and people pleasing, in feeling like you are not achieving what you want to achieve. And let me know in the chat whether you have experienced burnout in the past, or maybe know somebody who has experienced burnout. So for me, this is a missing piece. Understanding your own nervous system as a practitioner and as a woman helps you to create schedule and a workload that is much more sustainable. It helps you to set healthy, compassionate boundaries for yourself and with others. It helps you lead without creating this burnout cycle where you work, 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 and then you crash, and then you have to recover. And then again, you pull yourself together and you work, 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 and then you crash. There's a complete collapse. You have to recover. And then going through that cycle again and again and again. And understanding your own nervous system can really help you stay much clearer about what it is that you need to do. What are the priorities within your life and within your business? What is your definition of success? What do you need to feel supported within your life and your business? What are the habits that will support you, help you nurture and create those inner resources? And what kind of resources do you need to put in place to support you? Because we can't do it on our own. And I know that one of the things that I hear so much from female practitioners, it's how lonely they feel, how alone they feel with everything to do with their business, with running their business. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so some of you experience burnout. Yeah, and definitely exhaustion. Know lots of people that experience burnout. Yes. And, there is a myth that, oh, if you do what you love, you never work one day in your life. And it's not completely true. It's not completely true. You can do what you love and you can still feel absolutely exhausted, and you can still feel quite alone within that, and you can still feel unsupported and overwhelmed, and you can still experience burnout. If you do not understand how to move more towards self-regulation, how to step into self-leadership, how to create sustainable schedule, sustainable way to work, how to create healthy boundaries for your work with your clients, but also for yourself. So you can experience burnout. Yeah, exactly. You can experience burnout. You can experience burnout. And anybody who tells you that you want that something is misaligned is actually not telling the truth, because you can experience that burnout. And so the missing link often is this foundational thing that we explore in our training certification. It's to really understand your own patterns, your own habitual ways of behavior, and being able to check in with yourself on a regular basis and to really know what supports you the most. What habits on a self-care level, on your life level, and on your business level are most supportive? How can you create way to connect with your inner resources and the resources around you? So one of the things that we can do, and this is something that I talk in all of my programs about, is this life first business model where you don't sacrifice your well-being and your self-care and your mental health, your physical health, and your relationships for the sake of your business. It's a really important shift when you understand what your values are in your life and in your business, and you understand what your definition of success is, and the kind of impact you want to make, how you love to work, and build it on your strengths, that life first business model becomes the foundation for your well-being and becomes something that is really, really sustainable. When you understand your nervous system, how the nervous system works, and what's true for you, you can stop pushing, you can stop forcing, you can stop overriding what your body is communicating to you, and you can start really tending to your needs from that more kind and compassionate space. This is a big shift for many of us. Big shift. And, in our training, I often talk about, we've got the whole module about compassion, and we talk about compassion that is tender compassion, but also the compassion that is fierce self-compassion. And compassion is such a big word. And so often it feels like, oh my God, it's too much. How can I be compassionate to myself? But you can always be a little bit kinder to yourself, a little tiny bit kinder to yourself. You can choose in any moment whether you are tired or wired or overwhelmed or exhausted or struggling or scared. You can always choose to be 1% kinder to yourself. 1% kinder. And that's something that is accessible to all of us. Yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah, compassion can be this big thing. How do I approach it? It's so unfamiliar. It's so unfamiliar. Well said. It's so unfamiliar within our Western society that is so focused on driving forward and pushing and forcing and achieving and productivity. And we are bombarded by those messages every single day of our lives. And if you've been alive, like I've been alive 52 years, that's 52 years of conditioning, that kind of conditioning. So it takes a little bit of time to really unlearn all of this. And this is, what we do in the certification. We unlearn those things, this way of always pushing, always forcing, ignoring the body, forcing the body. And the reality is that body will always win. It might feel like you can force your body, the wisdom of your body, to do something, but there will be a price to pay, and the body will always win eventually. And then the consequences come in many different ways. It might be something to do with physical health, it might be something to do with mental health, there might be something to do within the safety or relationships, but the body will always win. The other thing in here is that this aspect of co-regulation. And so some experts say that everything is about co-regulation. And certainly for babies, for children, babies and children cannot self-regulate. They rely on adults around them to co-regulate, to help them feel that sense of safety. But as adults, we can actually learn how to self-regulate, but we still need connection with others. We still need connection as that stabilizing, co-regulating social connection. We need community, mentorship. We need that sense of being witnessed and acknowledged. That's a very human experience, and that's one of the, biggest drives for us to actually be part of. Now, one of the definitions of trauma is that I share in the training is that trauma happens when our experience is unwitnessed and unacknowledged. And therefore, trauma healing happens when our experience is witnessed, acknowledged, and honored. And we can do it for ourselves, but we also need others to do it for us. That's the healing power of connection. That's the healing power of community. A community that comes together in a safe way to hold space for each other, to explore questions, to learn together, and to support each other along the way. So one of the most important things in here is that to remember that learning how to take care of yourself as a woman, as a leader, and as a facilitator is the most important thing. That's the most important thing. That's the foundation of everything. And if that's not in place, everything else is like the house made of cards, house of cards, it will collapse on itself. So let me know in the chat what you think about this way number one that can really support you, this way of understanding that everything is built on your ability to take care of yourself, of your needs as a human, as a woman, as a leader, and as a facilitator. Let me know how that lands. And this is this somatic leadership piece is, no AI model can replace something like that. It's just not possible. Not possible. Yeah, great. Yeah, that's really landing. Brilliant. Yeah, we know that. Yes, that's right. We know that on a mind level, and yet our observable behavior shows otherwise. And that's that cognitive dissonance. Like we say this is the most important thing, and yet we don't act as if it is the most important thing. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I really hear that. So yeah, the word leader is a difficult one to accept and own. Yeah. And yet if you are working with people, this is something that we have a lot of conversation about in the certification. We've got the whole module about embodied feminine leadership and how what it means and how to step into it. And really, we always start with self leadership and taking care of yourself, tending to your needs, honoring your needs, and acting from that space, uh, acting and behaving in alignment. So it always starts with self leadership, and then we can lead from that embodied space. So often we try to lead, or people try to lead from not an embodied space, and that becomes really, really difficult. Yeah. And if you are working with people, you are already perceived as a leader. Somebody who leads, somebody who's one or two steps ahead. That's the definition of a leader, somebody who holds space in an effective way. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a different definition, one that is so much more accessible. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so the second way that trauma-informed somatic approach can really help is really learning soft skills that have now become power skills and the soft skills that AI cannot replicate. So, and they are what makes a practitioner irreplaceable, human practitioner irreplaceable. So, what do I mean by soft skills in somatic work? Well, skills like deep listening and what I called embodied listening, listening with all our senses, listening to what's said through the words, but also through non-verbal communication. So body listening, non-verbal communication, and reading somebody's presentation, reading their physiology, reading the shifts within their nervous system, within their face, within their presentation, any patterns of activation or collapse or disengagement, and really listening to what's being said and what's not being said. This is something that AI cannot do. At the beginning, I gave you an example of, working with AI. It's this very literal, AI takes it in a very literal way. There is no space for nuance, for gray areas. It's very, very matter of fact. And then there is this generative thing of more and more and more and more. And what we as humans can do, and especially those of us, and so many women are so deeply empathic, so intuitive, so able to hold space because we've had so much experience of holding space for others in many different settings. There is this ability to really attune to somebody's needs and ability to create safety and co-regulation. And so often we do it intuitively, and we want to do it not just intuitively, but to really understand how we're doing what we're doing and how it works best. So really learning the right language and really learning the trauma-informed approach, what it means, how it shows out, and how we can create this trauma-informed and trauma-aware and safe enough environment for somebody to be more vulnerable with us, to be more open and open in a way that there is trust and that there is this sense of collaboration, communication that is permission based, that is client led. All of those things are such important skills, and they called soft skills. And the interesting thing is that, I recently, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I read an article in Time magazine about soft skills, and they were talking about business, and they were highlighting that soft skills are becoming the most essential skills in the workforce right now because robots and systems cannot do them. And I don't think they will be able to do it for a very, very long time. There is so much complexity within that communication that, it will take a very long time for AI to learn something like this, if ever. And so holding space for somebody using those soft skills, the skills that are very deeply human, the skills that lead to co-regulation, the skills that allow us to hold some space for somebody and for their emotional inquiry without collapsing and without rescuing and without advising and giving options, being solution focused. Well, this is what really gets us into a lot of trouble. When we approach our emotional states, emotional process through solution focused skills without actually understanding what's all of that about that is happening for us. So let me know if that resonates, if that lands for you, because I think this is really, really important thing that even business circles and magazines like Time magazines are talking more and more about those soft skills. So I've talked about this somewhere else, and I've talked about this in the past about my own personal history about working with a coach, and really that coach was very experienced, was getting really good results for her clients. I know that because I was in the group with them and they were getting really good results clearly. And yet, because of the way that I am, when I was working with that client, we had very clear action steps for me to take, and I couldn't do them because there was other stuff going on for me. I was going into freeze response. I was going into avoidance, into procrastination. I couldn't do anything, into that kind of collapse. And in the sessions, I was saying yes, yes, yes. So a lot of fawning behavior, people pleasing behavior. I will do this. And then behind the scenes, I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And that coach, even though she was very, very experienced, one didn't obviously understand what was going on for me, didn't notice that, didn't, and two, didn't really know how to work with it. And so over time, I was feeling really embarrassed that I couldn't follow up on what we agreed in our sessions, and I felt really unsupported and unseen. And so, as a consequence of that, I really feel that that was a waste of my time, a waste of her time, and a waste of my money. And it could have been dealt, what I know now, it could have been dealt in a very simple way. It could have been, if she did have that understanding and knowledge and skills, she could have acknowledged what was going on for me, and we could have changed how she was working with me. And knowing what I know now, I would have approached it differently. But unfortunately, that wasn't there. And so often, that can happen. So let me know in the chat if you had similar experience where your needs were not being met because there was no understanding or use of those softer skills. And that can happen a lot, especially within the business context where an approach is very masculine, approach is very do, take action, take action, take action, force the action taking rather than doing a lot of work, which, is needed for those of us who are much more empathic, who are much more sensitive, who are much more emotionally, maybe highly sensitive and emotionally led, that where this part of our experience needs to be acknowledged. Yeah, yeah. So you had that similar experience. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I've heard that so many times. That that does happen because it requires a special set of skills and special way of working and understanding, and that is coming from a more feminine approach. Yeah. Yeah, and then exactly what you just said, thank you. And then we feel bad, like we are broken and something is wrong with us because everybody else is doing it and we are not. Yeah, exactly. Rather than understanding that actually maybe this approach doesn't work for you, there needs to be something else, and to actually have the skill and understanding and the knowledge and experience to support person from the level that they need to be supported rather than trying to fit the person into your own way of working and then saying that there is something wrong with the person because they don't fit in. Yeah, Exactly. Yeah. And if you're more neurodivergent, if your brain is wired in a different way, if you're highly sensitive, if you experience burnout, it's becomes so much more challenging, um, and really, really not a great experience for you as a person. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so that takes me to the third way that this trauma-informed somatic approach can really help. And that is aligned with uh, why the certification is for women. Because it's not because this understanding of the nervous system and the integrated soma psyche soul coaching method that I teach you, and the somatic practices only work for women. That's not the case. Those practices, these approaches, those models can work for many different humans. They can work for men, they can work for teenagers, they can work for maybe younger people, however people identify themselves. It can work for many different humans. However, why it's important to understand women's lives and realities in today's social context is because couple of things. So, from my experience, women are the ones who really care about their own well-being and the well-being of their loved ones and the planet. So we have a generation of women right now who, for the first time in the history of humanity, because things have changed so much over the last 50 years, we have a generation of women who are starting businesses at the record rates, and they are also investing heavily in their own health, well-being, self-care, and personal development. Because the two come together. The two come together. And this is why the trauma-informed somatic-based support, is really sitting right at the intersection of those two trends. The trend for women to start businesses at record rates and women investing heavily in their own health, well-being, and self-care. And I have got let me just bring that up so I can see it. I have got some stats for you because I think this is really, really important. So the stats on women starting businesses, and listen to the numbers here. Okay. So on women starting businesses, globally, 1 in 10 women is in the process of starting or running a new business. And women's startup activity has almost doubled over the last 2 decades. And in UK, women now own just over 20% of all businesses, contributing an estimated £116 billion a year to the economy. £116 billion a year to the economy. And in 2013, there was a record 164,000 women-founded companies. Yeah, and that's on the website. I found that on the smallbusinessbritain.uk. So there is, that's a huge chunk of money. Many women starting businesses, contributing to their communities, really stepping into their leadership and their power and making positive, significant changes within the communities. Amazing stuff. and on wellness and self-care spending. So the global wellness economy is worth around $6.8 trillion, which is 47, almost 47.5 trillion pounds. 47.5 trillion pounds, which is roughly 6% of global um, money market. And women are the primary decision makers for a large share of that spending. And in the UK, women spend about 50% more on health and wellness than men, especially around reproductive health, menopause, mental health support, and diagnostics. So let me know how those numbers are landing for you in the chat, please. What comes up for you when you hear those huge numbers? Yeah, really, these are big numbers. Yeah, really big numbers. Yeah, where is the money going? Yeah, well, it's going to somebody. So if you really care about making positive impact within your community and creating a lifestyle business, a way that really supports you, supports your loved ones, and supports your community, you might as well do that rather than leaving it to big corporations who really don't care about communities, who really, don't care about the impact. They just focus on the money. They're just too big to really care in this way. You might be, it will be better that you do that. Exactly. Yeah. So if you are a practitioner, what it means is that you need to understand the context of women's internal and external pressures. And it's not enough just to talk about it. It's really important to understand how patriarchy affects the nervous system and our sense of safety on a daily basis. Understanding why burnout affects women so much more. And that's to do with the roles that women are expected to take on within our society. And we need to understand the social, cultural, and systemic expectations on women, as well as trauma patterns specific to women's lived experiences. The other day, we were just talking about this in one of our modules in the most current the latest cohort of trauma-informed somatic teacher and coach for women. And, it is a very difficult subject for women to discuss because there is so much that women have experienced throughout their lifetimes on so many different levels. And so often we try to live because it's too much, because we are quite sensitive, because there is so much of it all the time and we experience so much, we try to ignore it. But actually, this is really, really important to acknowledge. So if we want to make that positive impact, if we step into that role of leadership, and what I mean by leadership, I mean, really owning it, that we want to be women supporting women, because as women, we really care about women and about how women live, all ages of women, girls and women. If we say that we really care, then we need to be part of the conversation. We need to be one of the voices in the conversation. And the interesting thing is, and this is what I hear often from participants, women who participate in our training certification, is how often they go to trainings that talk about women and women experiences, and they are not built through a feminine, cyclical, and trauma-informed lens. They still in this much more masculine, forcing, pushing, striving way of being. And that disconnection between, yes, we're talking about more feminine, cyclical, trauma-informed approach, and yet we're not creating it. So how can we create it in a way that really shows it through our behavior? That there is no this cognitive dissonance that we say one thing and then observable behavior shows something different. So let me know how that lands. Yeah, how that lands for you. So let me just take a moment and regroup. I'm gonna have some water. Let me know if you've got any questions as well in the chat, please, because I think this is really important. So yeah, so how can we do it in a different way? Great question. Great question. So there are many ways that you can do it in a different way. The way that I can support you with through doing it is through inviting you to our 160-hour trauma informed somatic teacher and coach for women certification. Yeah. So this is exactly what we do within our certification. So it's a 9-month online training certification, and it's delivered in a way that really honors women's experience in today's society within the context of our history and the past, because that needs to be acknowledged as well. Women are in a very different position right now than they were 50 years ago. It's only 50 years ago that women were started to be allowed to have their own bank account, to have their own possessions. You know, it's all changed really recently if you think about this. 50 years is not that long. But through women being able to work on a property, run a business, we now ended up in this situation where, yes, we can do this, and yet we are still within the context of society, we are still told that we need to still hold on to the roles that we had before. So before we had the role of a homemaker, looking after children, running the house, doing everything that needed to be done around that house. Now we are expected to do this and have a job or run a business or, work with clients. And that's a lot. That's a lot. And this is why understanding of the nervous system and what it means to step into embodied feminine leadership, where you really acknowledge and honor your needs, and you understand that your self-care and your well-being is the foundation of everything, makes such a huge difference. It makes huge difference. Because if everything is built on the foundation of you being able to tend to others' needs, your family, your home, your business, your clients, your community, then your self-care And your nervous system regulation is more important than ever. If that's not in place, if you experience burnout, if you experience health challenges, physical health, mental health, everything that is built on your ability to do things, to tend to things, will collapse. And so that's one of the biggest shifts that I see happen within our certification. That, of course, we know that, self-care and well-being is the foundation of everything. But there is this big shift of really understanding, oh, it's actually not just a lovely sounding idea and there's something that I know on a mind level. There are actually certain things that I can do for it to become embodied wisdom, for me to step into this understanding on an embodied level. So let me know again how it lands, what's coming up for you. This acknowledgement of the soft skills that are grounded in somatic, relational, trauma-informed approach, skills, understanding, behavior, all of this is so, so important. And that's something that we definitely learn and explore in our training certification. And as I said earlier, this understanding of women's lived realities through many different many different women's experiences. And women within our training certification are different ages. Some are younger, some are within midlife, some are later in the midlife, but they all have got their own lived experience. Coming together, sharing that experience, sharing the challenges, different backgrounds, different cultures, different identity, different sexual orientation, different languages, different nationalities, because we have women from all over the world. So really understanding that we all come together, we all come with our gifts, the gift to share with other women. And we form a really beautiful community that is safe and is very supportive, and it's based on taking care of yourself and connecting with others in that safe environment. And when you make those shifts, when you start really walking your talk, everything changes. Everything changes for you. And you become who you want to be within the context of your business and your life. And so, yeah, let me know how it's all landing. So if you are interested in joining certification, I'm not going to talk too much in here about certification, but I will send you the information around it. And you can have a look, and you can have a look at the conversations that I had with our graduates. And you can really see how that lands for you. The material that we cover that is very comprehensive and that really looks at this work from different perspectives and allows you to develop the skills, understanding and knowledge and skills to work with others, but in a way that also honors your own needs and that helps you understand what's going on for you. Because as I said, everything is built on that. And so I want us to have a little bit of questions. So let me just come to to closure, and then I can switch off the recording and we can have some questions. So, just to kind of summarize what we were talking about, is that the three ways that you can really support yourself to have the best 2026, and really stepping into that more empowered space in a way that will help you find more stability, more sustainability in your business and as a practitioner, is that your own way of taking care of yourself, your own system becomes your greatest asset. And it has to start with that always, always, always. That's number one. Number two is that your soft skills make you irreplaceable. The AI cannot compete with that, and it will not be able to compete with that. It cannot co-regulate. It cannot feel empathy. It cannot read the body language. It cannot listen for what's not said as well as what's said. Only you as a human can do that. And number three is your understanding of women makes your work essential, because women are the ones who are really stepping into their power, are the ones who are spending the money within the wellness industry, within the self-improvement industry. Women are the ones who are really stepping into creating their businesses. Women are the ones who make those decisions and who are feeling more and more empowered to make those decisions. And so, really supporting women is important. And if you're a woman, you want to support yourself as you support women. So, let me know what's the biggest takeaway for you in today's session. What's the biggest takeaway for you? Put it in the chat. What's the biggest takeaway? And then we will finish and I will stop the recording and we can look at some questions. Yeah, that it all starts with you. That's it. It all starts with you. Everything is built on your ability to take care of yourself in an effective way. Yeah. Yeah, not like throwing spaghetti at the wall. Yeah, exactly. And so often we do that, isn't it? There is so much good advice out there about how to take care of yourself, but actually, um, you know, it's the other way around. You need to know what your needs are, so then you decide how to meet your needs in an empowered way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining today. Yes, power to the women. Yes, it's amazing to see that women are stepping into those roles, that women are owning their power, that women are supporting other women and other, communities as well, which is really, really amazing. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that those soft skills are the strengths that so often they are being dismissed or they were dismissed. Yeah, but now they are strengths. Yeah, that's so true. So true. Yeah. Yeah, the AI is only good for certain things. It is only good for certain things. And, I use it quite a lot. I used to use it more. I use it a bit less now because it's so obvious to me when people share stuff that's been created by AI. So definitely, definitely useful tool that cannot replace human connection. And that's what we need when it comes down to healing and to connection and to good quality of life. Yeah, great stuff. Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me today. Um, Hopefully you found it useful. Hopefully it really helped you to get a little bit more clarity about what's your next step. If you are interested in finding out about about our trauma-informed somatic teacher and coach certification, please find the link, check out all the information and see if that resonates. This way, this way of working, this way of learning, this way of living your life and creating your business. And let's stay in touch. Connect with me, maybe book a call, and I will be very happy to answer questions or chat with you and help you to take the next step. Okay, take care of yourself and thank you for now.